Buenos días, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. J. Slater case. Chosen background of the day, not for the first time. A pick that, to me, is very, very clear evidence that this man in this car that I commonly refer to as Pumpkin, looking through the sunroof there, and this man, who, if I move my big fat head out of the way, right there, Ivor Lovelace, the man with the dark glasses on, evidence, I would say, that those two were both present at the Barranco de Juan Lopez, searching for Jay Slater, when, as you can see, the Guardia Civil were there too, the omnipresent Guardia Civil. I think that one picture is all you need. Circumstantial evidence, yes, but it's right there. That surely is it. That we have had nothing but lies. We have nothing but fabrications. We have had nothing but tall tales that have, thrown us off the track here with a certain El Slugtardo saying that he was never in Tenerife. There he is. And like I say, if this isn't 2024, if it is 2025, then why would all of these Guardia Civil vehicles be there 1 year on from the end of the J. Slater case? Now, you would have thought if the truth were of importance to the guy in the car and the guy looking like a scarecrow, you would think if the truth were important to them, they would come up with a perfectly rational, logical explanation for this picture, just because they don't really want to be labeled as obvious liars. And I would suggest the reason they have not come up with an explanation, and nor have any of their allies, whether we're talking about Thomas Lanker, whether we're talking about Laurie, whether we're talking about Kaz Alice, whether we're talking about Janie 180, none of them, after great thought, have come up with an explanation for how this could not be 2024 during the J. Slater case. So it seems to be because they've not come up with an alternative viable explanation, we all conclude two things. Number one, that Luggy was there. Of course he was in 2024. And number two, his allies are so brain fogged and deluded, they have to go along with his lies because otherwise they just are faced with that awful prospect of saying, I was a fool. I was duped. Now I see the light. But they've gone too far down the Kool-Aid route and they are 100% on board with lies, fabrications, and all the rest of it is the truth. Now, I've made all these points before, nothing new to that. But I just wanted to consolidate all of the circumstantial evidence we have that puts Ivor Lovelace on Tenerife in 2024 during the search for Jay Slater, and then ask the question, why were we lied to? Because to me, on the surface, it's no big deal whatsoever that Ivor Lovelace was on Tenerife helping in the search for Jay. So what? It's no big deal to me that, one version has him in West Wales, in the ops room, as Chris likes to call it, with his LiDAR maps, and one version, this one, the one we can actually see, reality, has him in Tenerife. That there are two stories doesn't really bother me. What bothers me is why. Why would El Slugtardo have insisted that he must be in West Wales on that date, and he cannot possibly announce to the world that he was in Tenerife? I don't really understand on the surface what the big deal is. If Sluggy was on Tenerife, June, July of 2024, and he was part of the search, so what? So answers on the postcard, please. What could be the possible explanation for El Slugtardo insisting that he could only have been in the UK on that date? Is there a legal reason? I can't think of any reason apart from a legal reason. I mean, we know that Jay Slater did not complete his community order. and went to Tenerife anyway. I'm just wondering, was there some kind of community order, some kind of legal restraint, some kind of imposition that a court had placed on Ivor Lovelace, stating that he must not leave the UK, that this is something he must adhere to, he must remain in the country? I don't know. I'm just speculating because that's all we can do. As I say, we don't get honest answers from these people. That leaves a vacuum. In the vacuum of the absence of honest answers, we have to put forward possible answers that make sense. Now, if the likes of Peter Pennington want to explain exactly why Ivor Lovelace had to lie, go ahead, Peter. But in the absence from someone like Peter Pennington giving us the answer, we can only conclude that all of them, as one big group, are involved in the big cover up. They all have something to lose by being truthful. Let's move on from that. As I say, answers on a postcard, please. Any comments down below as to why it would be, why it could be that an innocent, good-hearted, good Samaritan searcher from West Wales, why would he have insisted he could only have been in the UK when he wasn't? Don't know. But let's turn to other circumstantial evidence, because I do want to give a big shout out to contributor Lizard, who, under the comments of the long drivel video that I posted yesterday, I posted a link to a video. I can't remember the name of the site now. You've Been Clipped, I think is the name of the site. You've Been Clipped, and it's like 50 minutes or so, if you can stand it, of pumpkin features here rambling on about trying to justify the accident theory. He does a really bad job, but it's worth, if you can get through it. I mean, good old Linda Coyle told me she managed to make it through to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Well done, Linda. I said no medals, but I mean that is an achievement. If you can last 2 minutes 30 seconds of this guy spouting shite, then that's an achievement. Just to give you an idea of the powers of endurance and discipline I have, I've actually listened to the whole thing and have plenty to say about it at some time. I'm taking it easy on videos this week because I do want to focus on one or two tangential issues. But at some point, I'll get back to that You've Been Clipped video. If you can endure the whole thing, I think Matt Perney might have done it. A few others have done it. You'll see that in the fullness of time, just about everything this guy said in justification of the accident theory, either through the documentary or the inquest, was blown out of the water. Totally. Many, many things he says that justify the accident theory were proven totally wrong, incorrect, factually incorrect. And as I say, I'll go through that another time. But Lizard, contributor Lizard, said, posted a link, and the link is to a DTR video. And go to my community post and check all this out. But I think it's at 2 minutes 40 seconds in that video. I might be wrong. But DTR says, regarding the others that were searching in the Masca area, DTR said, now I've got to find it. Well, he mentioned the team of 3. Yeah, this is it. DTR said, regarding the other searchers that are up here, he said, now there are 3 other guys who I do have respect for and who are also out searching at the moment. 3 other guys. And if you listen to the rest of what DTR says, the context makes it abundantly clear that the 3 other guys are working as a team. It's not 3 separate guys. He goes on to mention 1 or 2 other guys, but the team of 3, very much working together. Now, which team of 3, which other team could you imagine DTR could be referring to? Because as time went on after Jay's disappearance, there wouldn't be what I call, to use his word again, 3 other guys in a conspicuous group that were looking. It's not obviously not the Guardia Civil. He's not talking about the authorities. He's talking about, in reference to others coming in. Because DTR explains that without the Spanish authorities giving permission for a team to come in and search, DTR was talking about, Scottish Mountain Rescue. he was saying, and he explained it very well. I mean, I'm not a DTR fan, but he explained it very well. He said, without the Spanish authorities giving their permission, and it makes sense, you can't just invite a team to take over a whole ravine and say, now we're looking. And that's the context in which DTR mentioned three other guys are up there looking. Well, I would suggest those three other guys are Pumpkinhead, Adrian, and the Scarecrow. I would suggest it must be them. I can't think of anyone else who it is. So again, circumstantial evidence, but DTR says three guys. These are the three guys. If you, anyone out there, Peter Pennington, can tell me who the three guys could be that we're searching, not these, just let me know. That would clear that one up. And I just wanted to put, on the table the other evidence we have, taking you back to when El Slugtardo was talking about his LiDAR maps fiasco and talking about maps in general, how he came up with a plan. And his words were, handed a map for the search for J, he handed a map to Chris. And I pointed out immediately, if you remember, I said, you can't have handed a map over. In order to hand a map over, you need your hand, which means you need to be physically present. If Chris is searching in Tenerife and you, El Slugtardo, hand a map to Chris, you are also in Tenerife, close enough to hand a map over. Well, the mental gymnastics that El Slugtardo then had to go into to try to say, well, when he said hand it over, he meant digitally send or forward. He didn't literally mean hand it over. Well, we know the level of English of El Slugtardo is remarkably low, but could he have made such a kindergarten mistake? I don't think it is a kindergarten mistake, actually. I think a kindergartner says, when they say hand it over, they mean hand it over. When they say send, I think they mean send. Would a little kid have made such a basic mistake in their native language? Probably not. Is El Slugtardo below that very basic level of language? Sometimes yes. So there is a grey area there, but on the whole, I think even El Slugtardo has mastered the English language well enough to distinguish between handed over and send or forward or digitally send, email. So there we go. Sluggy handed a map over. He's pictured there with the Guardia Civil in 2024. And we have DTR, neutral witness, saying, there's a team of three guys up there searching too. This all points to the big lie from El Slugtardo. Is there any other evidence that that Sluggy was over there? Yeah, I mean, it's not great evidence. Way back when, we did see a very, very mini vid of Sluggy on a boat, and we caught in the background, the coast, and many people were saying that has to be the volcanic coast of Tenerife. He has to be there. He can't be in a boat in Wales. And actually, I was more the other side. I was like, that could be. I mean, I don't recognize the coast itself, but it could be a Welsh cliff face coast. That could be, I don't know, West Wales. Could be. Wasn't sure about that. But, the more I think about it, the more Luggy, who can't keep his fizzle off the camera, may well have slipped up there and shown us a bit, just a slice of Tenerife in the background. And I think the final nail of circumstantial evidence the other day was, to me, quite clearly the indisputably luggy virgin white socks that were seen filming Chris June 2024, July 2024, the search for Jay. Someone is filming Chris. I don't think Adrian wears the white socks and the dainty boating shoes. I don't think so, because later in that same video, we see Adrian in army fatigues and black boots. As far as I can see, they're a completely different outfit. But we have seen his rather odd fairy feet mania for white socks. It is a luggy thing. And I believe in that video as well, we also hear Pumpkin referring to Luggy, speaking, to my mind, as if he's there. I think that is evidence too, that Luggy was there. So We got the White Sox. We got the references to Luggy as if Chris is speaking to him. We have the boat scene with what looks like Tenerife coast in the background. We have the words of El Slugtardo himself handing a map to Chris. We have DTR saying there's a team of three up there, that team of three that I respect, three, not two. And this is the key one here, the crunch one. Now, some people might say this is all circumstantial evidence. Of course it is. But believe me, you can be convicted in the court of, public opinion on circumstantial evidence. Yeah, we would dearly love to see the pasaporte of El Slugtardo, to see if there is some stamp in there that says entry to Tenerife Sur Airport on a certain date. Yeah, some kind of physical evidence like that. We would love to see where Luggy's phone was pinging aplenty during the search. I've got a feeling that just as Jay's phone was pinging aplenty up there, that Luggy's phone was too. But unless there's a real investigation and El Slugtardo is interviewed under caution and then it goes into a court of law, of course that won't be revealed. The hard evidence, I believe, is there. It's just because we are asking questions, we are raising red flags, we are not actually investigating and trying to prove, we can't do that. But what we can do is point out what I've done today, all the circumstantial evidence. And to me, the biggest clue that this circumstantial evidence points to El Slugtardo being in Tenerife in 2024 is that the defense, the other side, say nothing. Kaz Alice just looks out the window and pretends what I'm saying here is of no relevance. Well, it is of no relevance in the world of Kaz because Kaz has fully bought into these guys must be nice guys. These guys must have been doing a good thing. And it's people like me that are bad. But when it comes to the actual evidence, things that don't fit or things that fit a certain narrative, Luggy's friends have nothing. They come up with no rebuttal. They come up with no alternative scenario. All they have are the usual insults, the usual words of disgust, but nothing that can counter the narrative that says this surely is true. And that, I would say, in the court of public opinion, is the biggest clue that all of this that indicates Sluggy was there, very much there in the summer of 2024. That's the biggest clue that it is true. You've got to imagine that El Slugtardo spends a lot of time on this case. A lot. You'd have thought he would spend 2 minutes just proving to us that he wasn't there in 2024 and that he was in West Wales in 2024. You'd have thought he would take the time to do that. After all, El Slugtardo right now apparently is on holiday. Let's just take a look at how much time El Slugtardo devotes to this case while he's on a holiday. Today he posted something that was 111 lines long about one particular person. It's interesting, this one particular person who El Slugtardo says is boring, not interesting, he doesn't even watch the channel, he's got no interest in it, he doesn't give a fork, he doesn't care in the least. And yet he's on holiday, and yet he really thinks it's important to post 111 lines commenting on this boring person that's of no importance. That, I would say, is strange. 111 lines today on this person right here. But not one line to explain how this photo, Guardia Civil, pumpkin, El Scarecrow, looking as if he's ready to go searching. Not one line on saying how that must be 2025 and not 2024. July 6th, when was that? Yesterday, July 6th. 161 lines of drivel written by El Slugtardo. Again, pretty much the same subject. This one person here that is boring, of no interest, he doesn't give a fork about, but he does give a fork enough to write 161 lines yesterday and 111 lines today. As I say, the last few days, El Slugtardo has been on holiday, and yet he has put out 12 posts in general over the last 4 days, pretty much on the subject of one person. And in this world, we are expected to believe that both things are true, that he doesn't give a fork about the person that demands his time. He puts out 12 posts in 4 days, total of 270 odd lines of drivel in 2 days, and yet the subject that he writes on is boring. Doesn't give a fork about, apparently. In my world, that doesn't make sense. In the Aston Group world, it makes perfect sense. And I think this is why we're winning the argument, because any neutral would look at that and say, this lot that are obsessed, but keep saying they're not obsessed, they've got to be lying. And if they lie about that, just imagine how much they've all lied in the J. Slater case itself. Let us leave it there for now. Circumstantial evidence says El Slugtardo in Tenerife in 2024. Why deny it? Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.